Participating in quarterback challenges after practice with various Pelicans players. Josh Hart out there today. So was Michael Thomas. And you know that Drew Brees loves having him back out there. Also out at practice today, our colleagues Amber Theo-Harris and David Carr, who spent a little time with number 9.
What allows you to continue to compete at this level?
You know, I take very much the same approach that I always have, but I think there's just an extreme sense of urgency now with everything that I do. Everything has a purpose, from my training regimen to what I do for recovery. If I'm not doing something that is meant to make me a better quarterback, then it's a waste of my time. And so I'm very, very focused and diligent on the things that I do to improve and take care of my body. And listen, God willing, I love playing this game. I still feel like I can play it at a high level and been able to stay healthy. And so as long as I do that, then why wouldn't I want to play?
I think the coolest part about watching you guys practice, and we kind of mentioned it because we touched on it, is you grab Michael Thomas in the special teams period and you go over and you instantly start working on things that in the red zone, little details, and you see, like you talking about the head nod and the angle that he's going to take on certain breaks. How important are the little details that kind of go beyond just the X's and O's that are drawn on paper?
Really, that's everything. You know, there's so much trust that goes into the passing game and playing at a high level in the passing game. And for a quarterback, for you to have the confidence to turn some of those balls loose into tight coverage and into tight windows, man, you're trusting those guys to be where you expect them to be. And that doesn't just happen, right? You know, that takes a lot of time on task. It takes a lot of practice. And, you know, Mike and I have had a lot of time together over the last couple of years. But, listen, training camp, this is where you begin to, maybe toy around with some new things.
Yeah.
You begin to
guys also.
Yeah.
Jared Cook has come in.
Exactly.
He was in Oakland with Derek. Derek loved him. He's going to be a matchup guy for you. Just chat a little bit about some of the new pieces and how fun that is to kind of see what role they're going to play in the offense.
Well, what I love is just how everybody complements one another, right? Mm-hmm. You know, obviously Mike has always been a big focal point. Alvin's been a big focal point. Well, now you add a guy like Jared Cook to the mix. You know, big, long target, obviously a great red zone target. Well, man, obviously he's going to get opportunities, but then he takes some pressure off Mike. He takes some pressure off Alvin, and then other guys that we're able to work into the mix. So all those guys complement one another. I think they realize that, and that's what makes practice fun. It's what makes the game fun is you never really know whose opportunity it's going to be, but they all know they're going to get them.
Yeah. Now Ingram is gone, and he was the guy that took a lot of the carries, maybe on first and second down. Are you guys kind of working through that, or how's that process been?
Well, Latavius Murray obviously can be a big part of that. I feel like we've viewed the passing game in a lot of ways as an extension of the run game too. You know, and so those short, quick, and also intermediate passing game, just 1, 2, 3 and getting it out. I mean, that's a way to complement what is the run game too. 4 yards on a pass play is a good thing, right? Getting yourself into third man.
That's actually spoken like a true quarterback. That's a sell job if I've ever heard it.
Listen.
Look, coach, just call more passes. Obviously, he's completing 74% of his passes, so he actually is making
almost 75.
a ton of sense.
Well,
I mean,
you got to back it up,
have
right?
something to shoot for.
They were one of the best teams in the league last year. There's no doubt about that. 13-3, they scored 151 more points than their opponents. Their sack differential was plus 29. They're not a team that has a whole lot of glaring weaknesses and things that need work, obviously, in training camp. But no team is perfect, and this team is no exception. What stands out at you is something that might be the question mark that you have about the team heading into the season.
You said it. There aren't a lot of question marks. I think that's why a lot of people have this team pegged for the Super Bowl from the NFC. Obviously, the offense is very dynamic. You can tend to go to the defensive side. Although I will say this, when you have an offense as dynamic as the New Orleans Saints, and you're talking about Drew Brees, it's hard to get good defensive numbers. Why? Because you're going into the fourth quarter. You're probably playing with the lead. That means teams have got to, air it out a bunch of garbage yards, so you're not going to have good-looking stats. I guess if you want to nitpick a little bit, maybe the red zone. They were 23rd in the league in defensive red zone. That's probably, I'm sure, Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, who was a big pickup for them a couple of years ago on his staff. That's probably a focal point for them, but this looks like as complete a team as I see in the NFL.
Sticking with the defense, I think their pass defense, especially the first half of the season, struggled. They gave up 30 passing touchdowns throughout the entire season, but to your point, it's because a lot of teams are airing it out trying to play catch-up, so they can improve there. But I think offensively, my big question really is just, I used to call them Camagram, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. There's no Mark Ingram. There's no Hammer. So can Latavius Murray fill that void? Because one of the things that you have, if you have a high-scoring offense, if you get 27 points, you should be able to grind it out. You should be able to get your 4-minute offense out there and not turn the ball back over and put your defense back out there. So not having Mark Ingram, that could end up being a huge blow to this offense if Latavius Murray can't fill that void. But I think Ingram was that physical factor. As much as Kamara was the slasher and he would do a lot of things with the screen game and the short passing game, like we heard, Mark Ingram was the physical presence. So that's what they need on offense. We know we're going to throw the ball.
So much chemistry between those running backs clearly had such a big impact on that offense. I agree with you. That's a big question mark there.